Well, hey there, it's Billy Tarasio with Modern Law Practice, and today we're going to talk about something that affects almost all law firm owners. When and why should you open a second or third or fourth office location? This weekend, I was scouting out new space for Modern Law, my law firm, and because we have big growth plans, and most of the firms that we work with have big growth plans, and most lawyers want to grow, and part of that discussion is, of course, what do I do with office space? I'm in a space now that I really love in Dana Park in Mesa, Arizona. That's our main office location. And then we've got a satellite office in Scottsdale through Regis. That's a pretty typical arrangement. We like our physical space that we control better than the Regis location, and we want to grow pretty aggressively. We're in this huge, massive geography of Phoenix. So this past weekend, I went and checked out Peoria, which is the West Valley. So I'm in Mesa, Gilbert, Chandler. I'm in the Tempe. We're in the East Valley of the Phoenix metropolitan area. And I went over to Peoria, which is the West Valley, which is growing like gangbusters. Which begs the question, what are some ways to make the responsible decision of when it's time to get another office space? So I had to do some research. And it turns out there's two reasons that you should get another office space. Well, at least this is one philosophy, and we're going to go through all of them. One philosophy is you need to get new office space to either serve your existing customers better or enter a new market. That makes sense, right? If I do the analysis, my existing customers don't seem to be asking me for more space, but perhaps a questionnaire that goes out that asks them some things might be helpful, or perhaps an analysis of where our customers are coming from. Of course, even if our customers are coming from far away from my current office space, if they're coming here, then do I really need to expand? It's hard to say. And second, to jump into a new target market. Now that makes perfect sense. It seems that I'm not going to reach people in the West Valley an hour away if I'm here in the East Valley and they can see people that are closer to them. Absolutely, we know without a doubt that one of the reasons that people choose their lawyer is based on convenience of location. As a divorce attorney, people come to my office. It is unusual. It almost never happens that we don't meet our clients, and we usually meet our clients again and again and again. We have in-person meetings. They like in-person meetings. That means location matters, especially if your clients are employed. Now, when should you branch out for a new target market? Perhaps when you've saturated the market that you're in. And I was reading one article that was really interesting that said one attorney in North Carolina had expanded to new office location when his firm was on 1/3 of the existing divorce cases. And certainly he realized that once he was on 1/3 of the existing divorce cases, that he had probably hit market saturation. I'm nowhere near. Modern Law is not 1/3 of existing divorce cases in the Southeast Courthouse in Maricopa County. So perhaps we have not reached our potential market share. And maybe it's not 1/3. Maybe they're in a rural area without a lot of attorneys, and the analysis needs to change if you're in an urban area that has a lot of attorneys. But I can tell you this. The analysis is different if you're talking about opening a satellite office like a Regis or another co-working space versus having another office that you are responsible for, a 5-year office lease usually, staffing, stocking with supplies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you think back to the amount of work it took to open your location, it's an interesting analysis. So you've got your expenses, right? Your rent, and other expenses that you need to operate, like phones and that sort of thing, a printer, a copier, scanners, that sort of thing. And then you've got non-revenue generating employees, usually receptionists, office managers, that sort of thing. Opening a second office significantly increases those costs. before you can start making money. So it takes a significant investment. And I'm going to suggest that probably you not make that sort of investment opening a second physical location that has as much overhead as your main location until you've reached market saturation. Now, most lawyers don't really like that because we'd like to expand. We feel like expansion feels good, but expansion probably is not good for your actual bottom line unless and until you've reached that market share. So let's talk about satellite offices. Satellite offices are a different story. They do not require a 5-year lease. They do not require a long-term commitment. They do not require you to typically to invest in office managers and receptionists and that sort of thing. You can test out various locations by buying an address and then seeing what the market demand looks like. I think that that's a fantastic experiment that lawyers should conduct. It's a relatively low-cost experiment, but you want, as with any experiment, you want to set out, okay, what am I looking to measure? What do I think will happen? And then see what actually happens. Let the data help you make decisions. So, in short, I've decided not to get a physical location in Peoria just yet. And there's all sorts of reasons why Peoria is not ready for me either. All they have right now there is housing. No actual business has been built there, but it's going to be huge. So something that you want to keep your eye on, right? We should be thinking long-term. We should be planning long-term. But also, I know that I have not hit market saturation where I'm at. This leads to another challenging issue. What happens when you outgrow the space you're in? You have filled your space, but you don't want to extend your 5-year lease, and you don't want to get more space. That's when you have to get really creative about things like work from home policies, or like what we've recently done in our office where we've set up pods, shared office space for people who are working within a pod. A pod is a managing attorney, an attorney that's training, that's coming on board, a paralegal, and an assistant. So we have the ability to have up to 4 people in an office sharing a pod, and then other space where people can meet to either work alone or meet with clients. There's a lot of things to juggle when it comes to office space, and I don't think that this is the end of the discussion. But I've planted some seeds for you to think about, and I'd like to know what's worked in your office as well. Thanks so much.